Welcome. My name is Pastor Charlie, and this is my wife, Pastor Loraine. We're coming to you today for Skyway at noon. We've been given the opportunity to teach one of the lessons that God has laid on our heart, so we'd like to share that with you today. This phrase, "I'm so upset, I don't know what to do." Maybe you've made that statement before. Maybe you've seen others expressing that statement before, maybe even this morning. In Matthew 5:9, it says, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the sons of God." I'm so upset, I don't know what to do. Those words many times express some kind of conflict that is going on that is very difficult to navigate. Most people don't enjoy conflict, though there are some who seem to thrive on it. We know that there are people in our lives, or at least I do. I know that there are people that, for whatever reason, whether God allows them to be there to bring change in me, or whether the enemy has placed them there to see if he can cause me to stumble. It is not in my heart to cause conflict. That's not in my very nature at all. That doesn't mean that I might not cause conflict, but it wasn't done intentionally. Of course, this is a very dysfunctional way of life for those that seem to want to operate in that realm all of the time. Some people just are looking for a fight. In one of our other sessions, we talked about displaced aggression, is that many times it could be something that happened in their respective life that have caused them to have a chip on their shoulder. I've run into that before. You sometimes might have heard, and I'm only 5'8", so I can't say that this is necessarily applicable to me, but some people have what they call a small man syndrome, and they've been teased about their height for all of their lives, and so they have this chip on their shoulder, and they're always looking for a fight because of the rejection or difficulties that they've faced in life. However, conflict does appear in everyone's life from time to time. Getting away from that displaced aggression thing is that there are things that happen in people's life that can cause conflict. It can be between husband and wife, siblings, children, parents, friends, co-workers, or neighbors. It's never fun, but it doesn't have to end poorly. Today, we're going to look at some conflict resolution styles, and I'd like for you to identify which one is applicable in your life, and we'd also like to talk about which conflict style is the best, and to offer some tools to work with you in your relationships of all kinds. We even have conflicts in churches, believe it or not. Is that if I've always made the confession that if there is a perfect church, it will not be perfect once I go to it and join it, because we are all must recognize is that we are capable and that we are not perfect. We're not even capable of perfection, even though our heart is to move towards perfection.
So conflict resolution styles, we're going to share with you 5 different styles, and you may find yourself probably in one of these 5 styles. You get your conflict resolution style probably from what you saw your parents do as you were growing up, or it has to do with your personality type or whatever. So some of them work really well and some of them don't. So Charlie likes to talk about win-win situations, and that's what you're always looking for when you're trying to resolve a conflict, is for both parties to win. But sometimes there's a win-lose, and sometimes it's a lose-lose. And so we're going to look at how these 5 styles can lend themselves to those different kind of situations. And I'm going to try to use a little example of a husband and wife trying to decide on what they want to do when they go on vacation. So we're going to talk about the accommodating style first. This one is not very effective for a healthy relationship, and it usually ends up in a lose-win. So accommodating style is sort of a peace at all costs. You just give up and you let the other person have their way. So let's say you have a husband and wife, they're trying to decide on where they want to go on vacation. And what the husband wants lots of excitement and activities to do. And the wife really just wants to spend a lot of time, just the two of them, and talking and walking and chilling out and reading, or maybe studying her Bible. So you go, and so now you've got these two different things. So he wants to do a lot of exciting things, and she doesn't want to. So he wants to go on a safari or something like that, and the wife is like, no, I don't want to. But then she gives in because she has the accommodating style. She loses and he wins. So now she's got some resentment going on, and she is not going to have fun on this vacation, and it is not going to be fun for him, because she's going to be complaining the entire time how she did not really want to come on this, and she may not even say it, but her attitude will show it. So you can see how accommodating is not really a good style of conflict resolution, and you can find this style in a person who is a passive aggressive kind of personality. That's something I have dealt with all my life, is passive aggressive personality. So I would do the accommodating. Okay, we'll go your way. We'll do it your way. We'll do it your way. And so you just are very passive, and you just stuff things, and then all of a sudden you blow up. It's not a good accommodating style of conflict resolution is not good.
And that is true. The passive aggressive person, which will take, and then all of a sudden they will blow up, and you'll go, wow, where did that come from? Is that that's what an accommodating person sometimes has a tendency to do. And so I agree with that also.
He has witnessed this many times in his last 47 and a half years. So the next one is called avoiding. This one always has a lose-lose outcome. So avoiding is simply what it sounds like. You avoid the conflict. So
can you think of a relationship? I'm setting you up for this, but she was Pastor Loraine was talking about, we learn things from our past relationships, specifically our parents. My parents, this was their conflict resolution style, is avoiding. My father was always working, and my mom was at home, and so they could not agree on anything as far as how they were going to decorate a house or do different things. And so they just didn't talk about things. So my mom ended up taking the bull by the horns, and my father would come home after working many hours for many weeks and end up with the Sears bringing in new carpet and new appliances and things of that nature, and they hadn't even talked about whether they were going to get these things, or whether the next thing is, how are they going to pay for things. And it was all facilitated because of the concept of avoidance. And they just refused to talk about things. So that lose-lose proposition happened, is that my mom ended up causing conflict between my father and her, which I know it was not in her heart to do that, but because of the inability to talk about and conflict resolute, that both of them ended up losing.
Mm-hmm. So if there's a person who says, let's just sleep on it, or let's just table this. and talk about it later, but they never talk about it later. That is avoidance. And what happens is then the person who's really upset and doesn't want this kind of conflict resolution will be left out there with unresolved issues. But the first person, the avoiding person, is maybe it might work for them because they don't have to face it right now, but really it's a lose-lose situation. So let's say on the vacation thing, okay, so the husband and wife are talking, I want to go here and you want to go there, and one of them says, well, let's just talk about it later, and it never gets talked about. So do you ever go on vacation? No. Vacation never happens because the avoiding style of conflict resolution will not come to a solution. So the third one is compromising. So it can be effective for a healthy relationship. It's a semi-win and a semi-win. Each party gives up something, but they also gain something. So they get a little bit, each party gets a little bit of what they want, and the other one gets a little bit of what they want. So I would say this is like Charlie and I have a cabin up north, and we both love to go to the cabin. So that's never an issue. We like to go up there, but what we do while we're up there is two different things. So my husband is very people person. He wants to be around folks. He wants to be talking to people and fellowshipping with people all the time. And I'm like, I want to be alone for a while. So the way we compromise is like this. I say, okay, we will invite, we have neighbors down the road that have a cabin that we know. We can, I'll go down there with you sometimes. Because he likes to just drop in on people, and I'm like, they don't know we're coming. How do I know they really want me there? So, but I'll go down there with you once in a while. But sometimes if you've got to go down to talk to those people, then let me stay home and read. Or or I'll say, let me read, and you are going to, he loves to fix things and do little chores around the cabin, and that's fun for him, so that's good too. Or I'll say, you know what, I will give this, why don't we invite our friends over for dinner, we'll play some cards, because I do enjoy that. So compromising means you each give a little bit and you each take a little bit, so you each get something. So it can be helpful in a relationship.
One of the things that I think of in a compromising conflict resolution is we'll go and spend 2 weeks at the cabin, for example, and the first 3 or 4 days we've made the agreement that it's just going to be us, and we're going to spend that time together, and we'll chill out with one another. If we do go riding in the forest, it will just be the two of us, and that's the part that she really enjoys. But to be honest with you, I'm not totally out of being just the two of us, but there is a limit to the amount of time that I need that. And so then the rest, maybe 3 or 4 more days, will be with inviting someone up to the cabin and chilling out with them and playing some cards and interacting with each other and doing that. So we've learned in our 47 and a half years of marriage how to do this and to make it work successfully. That's the compromising style, which the notes that we have here say it's a semi-win-win. If you were to put these in numerical order about which is the best, this might be, out of the 5, this might be number 4. And so
I think it would be number 2.
That's what I meant.
One being the best.
Okay, 1 being the best. I was know. Going.
Maybe you were going 5 being the best.
Yeah, the ascending order of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Sorry.
But this would be number 2. We just collaborated or compromised together. Is it? From that order, it would be number 2. But the next one we're talking about is
collaborating.
And that's the best.
This is the most effective for a healthy relationship. It is a win-win. Both people get everything they want. So I was thinking about this whole vacation thing. And I was thinking, how could both people get everything they want? My first thought was, well, they could take separate vacations, but that wouldn't give me everything I want. I want to be with him.
I would lose. I
Yeah.
want to be with him.
So I thought about one time we took a cruise. Now, I know cruises aren't very popular right now with COVID-19 going on, but back then it was a really good collaboration. We went on a cruise. There were things that Charlie could do on the boat, things that, but yet there was, we could take walks on the boat. I could spend time reading while he went to do something else. But then there were the ports, and at the port you could go and do lots of fun things. So I would go with him. So, like, for one thing we did was he went parasailing. I paid $10 to sit in the boat and watch him parasail. And I was happy because I got to sit in the boat and look at the ocean and see my husband up there in the
And I was happy because I was 300 feet above the sea watching whales and
we are
all kinds of things operate like they were doing. And so that was a collaborating experience. One of the things about collaboration is that Pastor Loraine likes to watch what some people might call chick flicks or things of that nature. And I would have to say that I've adapted as our marriage has moved along. Is that I do have the ability to sit and watch Hallmark movies and watch the movies that years ago I would have never watched. But if we were to go out on vacation and decided to see a sensitive movie, then she would collaborate with me and go to another movie that maybe is of my
where they blow
choice.
up things,
Yeah,
and there's car wrecks and stuff like that.
All of that kind of stuff. I've learned to love both things.
Yes, and I like those movies too. I some of them, not all of them, but some of them, yes. So collaboration is really, really good, and is something you got to learn how to do, and you work it out together. And then finally, the last one is not a good one, and it's one that I know a lot about. It's called the competing relationship or competing style, and it's not good in the relationship. It is either a win-lose or lose-lose. So this is what the competing style of conflict resolution looks like. I will continue to push my opinion on you and push my thoughts on you and argue with you and argue my point until you say I am right and you are wrong. And what happens in that is it's either a win-lose. It could be a win-lose if I can get Charlie to admit that what I'm saying is right. So then I win and he loses. But that doesn't really ever happen. That doesn't work well. And so what happens a lot of times is there's a lose-lose. Nobody wins. It doesn't work. So I have learned to not do that so much anymore. But at the beginning of our marriage, this was me. And I don't know that I did it in other relationships, but in ours I did.
This we've learned, and I'm sure that we're not the only relationship that this is applicable to, is that this is a resolution style that seems to be prevalent in a controlling person, a person that has to have control. I'm not sure how many of you that know me real well have experienced this, but I know that some of you have, is that the harder you try to control me, the more resistance you're going to feel from me. Now, it won't be necessarily, it could be, but it won't necessarily be an abrasive resistance that I will give you, but it will be to where that I distance myself from a person that is controlling, and they will sense that resistance, and so they might not necessarily like to be around me because they're not being successful at driving me or pushing me to see it their way. The more you talk to me and try to drive it home when I know in my spirit that there's a better way, the more I'm going to resist. And so I'll say Pastor Loraine, in this particular case, has learned that that's not the best style to use with me. I've learned things about her that I've adapted that will end up being more successful at working with her than what we might have done at the very early years of our marriage.
So it's important to identify your style of conflict resolution and then try to make changes in your own heart and life and behaviors to move towards the competitive or the collaborative. So I think I would like to, we're going to share with you now some things some 5 steps to reconciliation. We don't have a lot of time left, so we're going to do it quickly. So you want to go ahead and share?
Okay, so the first thing is to listen and talk, and then / talk and listen. The person who is the most upset should talk first. When it is your turn to listen, don't interrupt, but listen with interest. Interjecting and trying to defend yourself when you've allowed this person to talk is not what we're talking about. When it's your turn to listen, don't interrupt. Try to understand the other person's perspective.
And so then the second one is to share once you've talked it all out and you both see where each other's coming from, share what you'd like to see happen first. What is the desired outcome? So whoever is most upset, whoever talked first in the listen and talk or talk and listen is the person who will share first what they'd like to see happen.
The third one is share what you're willing to do to meet the other person's desire. Don't just say what you think the other person wants to hear, but share what you are actually willing to do. Be truthful. It's pointless for you to admit that you're going to do something and you don't do it. All that does is it breeds distrust in whatever you're trying to accomplish.
Amen. So that may take some compromise when you start talking about what you're willing to do, but it's a good thing. Then apologize when appropriate. If you're feeling that you've said something wrong, you've hurt the other person's feelings, you want to apologize. And that would be a whole nother lesson because most people do not know how to apologize. They do not know how to. You got to take accountability when you apologize. But here's just a brief, just say, I want to apologize for, then say what you did, not what the response is. You don't say, I apologize for you being hurt. I apologize that I hurt you. And then, or you don't use the word but. You don't say, I apologize, but if you hadn't done this, then I wouldn't have done that. And it's so human nature to fall into those mistakes. So apologize when you need to, be humble enough to apologize when you need to.
An apology requires humility. If you want to see the best example of humility, and he said, I believe that God would agree with this, is if you want to learn the best example of humility, then follow the life of Jesus. And the fifth thing is to forgive. If you've been apologized to, make sure that you bring closure to that and say, I forgive you. If they've done the right thing in apologizing, even if they're really close to doing the right thing, then I would say forgive them, because it should be in our hearts to the expression that we've heard before, that heal people, heal others, hurt people, hurt others. So if it is truly in your heart, especially as a believer, to help to be a facilitator in the healing process, it should be in your nature to try the best we can to forgive when offenses have come their way. Some final words of advice: stop and pray. Just lift a silent prayer before you speak. Or if it's possible, pray together. We did that before we came here to do this lesson, because it's in our heart for people to perceive what we're saying as coming out of the spirit of love, and not trying to lord over anyone, not trying to say, if you all would just be like us. That's not what we're asking for. We're asking that the Holy Spirit within the lives of each individual person would apply whatever's being said in the appropriate manner. Think before you speak. Remember that you love this person. Think about what you need to share and how you think they will receive it with words that you've chosen.
And then take time out if you need to, in a marriage, especially if the argument has escalated to just really yelling and it's out of control. Charlie he brought this to our relationship many years ago, and so he'll just say to me, "Okay, you're upset. I'm upset. I'm afraid you're going to say something that is going to hurt me, and I'm afraid I'm going to say something that's going to hurt you. Let's take a break, and let's just go in separate rooms, pray, calm down, and then let's come back together." Only works if you keep your promise, and you come back together. So that is that. So those are just some things to kind of tuck in your toolbox. So
in closing, we believe that it would be the most successful resolution conflict is in the area of collaborating, to where that you both come to the agreement of how you're going to work this thing out so that it's a win-win, where that the person, the husband and the wife, feel like they're winning a piece of this. The ideal thing is for us to work together in collaboration where that we don't move unless we feel God's in it for both of us. And so, Pastor Loraine, I'm going to leave you the opportunity to pray and to close our session. Thank you guys so much for taking time out of your busy schedules to listen to what we have, and we trust that it will be beneficial to you.
Father, I just pray for everyone who's listening. I pray, Father, that they've been able to glean some things, Lord, that they can use in their lives and their relationships with other people, whether they're married or not, Lord, and with their children, with co-workers, with neighbors, with brothers and sisters in Christ, Lord, that we can learn how to resolve our conflicts, Lord, and just really, more than anything else, Lord, love one another. So we thank you. I pray blessings on everyone's life. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you.